Hey everyone, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Although I am a licensed clinician, I'm also just a person. I love to be able to be in my real life and speak from that point. And that's where this podcast is coming from. So enjoy.
Searching for truth, looking for answers. There must be a way to another day.
Hi, welcome to Convenient Truth.
Hi. You usually say I'm
Aaliyah. That's right, I'm sorry. I'm Aaliyah. This is Aaliyah here.
This is Joe.
I hope everyone's having an amazing week, an amazing day, an amazing weekend, just an amazing life, really. So, yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot I know that is probably going on out in the world right now, but Joe and I know nothing of what's happening in the world now. I know nothing. Do you?
About what's going on in the world?
Yeah, what's happening? Did anything big happen? Like I did hear just really quickly that there was a mass shooting. So 10 people died, which is really awful. But I don't know the logistics of it or the details. I have no idea.
The only thing I know that's going on is we've reached our debt ceiling, and they're probably going to raise the debt ceiling again because that's their only answer to that.
Debt ceiling. The ceiling of debt, of how many people in the world are in debt.
No,
like the
of how
amount
the
of-
whole country is in debt. Like
how
our
the
government.
whole
The
country
government.
is in debt. So they've raised it, which then does
Well, they do it all the time. They do it every year.
to make it seem like we're not actually in debt.
So I just thought about this today. Obviously, they must have implemented some sort of law that states that there's a limit to the debt. I don't know when this was implemented, but so now every time they hit that limit, that's when you've heard of government shutdowns and all this other stuff. That's what happens because they can't afford to pay the bills. They can't afford to pay.
I thought that the government shutdowns happened because people in the House or whomever were arguing and not agreeing on a bill or whatever or something. And so then because they're not in agreement, they have to shut down. Like that's what I thought happened.
It shuts down every year because they can't, because the debt ceiling, they hit the debt ceiling. So then they debate on whether they want to raise the debt ceiling, and they all say okay, because if they say no, then they don't get paid. So they're basically voting on their own pay, right? And then also they're like, it's like if you had a credit card and you constantly maxed it out. You know how you have a limit on your credit card? And every time, so imagine if you hit that limit every time and you just said, hey, I need another 10,000. Hey, I need another 10,000. Hey, but they're talking trillions.
Right.
Right. And you could just live your whole life like that. If the credit card company, if you called them up, every time you call them up, you were just like, hey, can you raise my limit?
Right. And they were just like, yeah, sure.
You could just, you don't even have to work.
Build and build it. Right.
You don't even have to work. You just keep going, blasting off the credit because they're not planning on paying it off because it's impossible to pay it off. Do you know if they took 100% of every billionaire's in America's billionaire's paycheck, 100% every year, they still would never pay off the debt, the government debt. And everybody's like, oh, we got to tax the billionaires and trillionaire or whatever, the rich. But it doesn't matter if you tax the rich. You could tax them all their money and you still will not pay down the debt. So anyways, there's that.
So yeah, outside of that, I have no idea what's going on in the world. But I do know that I'm leaving for Europe on the 1st, which is literally next week. Like not this week coming. Like this week as a whole, it's the week after.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a week off. Yeah.
So
or we could do a
live
Oh,
from
I could-
London.
I could if you want. could blast you in through the.
Well, the time difference is going to be so weird.
How many hours is it?
Like 6 hours
It's like talking to Hawaii.
forward.
So it'd be in the morning over here, and you'd be like,
Right. Yeah. It'd be even. Yeah.
yeah, we could do something like that. We could figure something out if you want.
I would love to do something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be in London, and I was supposed to go to also France afterwards to go see another really good friend of mine, one of my best friends. I'm no longer doing that, which I feel really good about. I was supposed to be there for like 13 days, which is crazy. And I totally knew it was crazy, but was just like in this like zone of like, I want to travel and get away and just have a good time and da 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 da, and like totally just was not really rationally thinking. So the thing about me is I have a tendency of like, not with all things, but like when I was younger, let's say, right? When I had no other responsibility besides myself, all I did was just like do shit like that. So I'd be like, all right, going to London? Cool, let's go to London, And then I would just like, or France? Cool, okay, I'm going to France. Like,
isn't that what most younger people are doing? That can afford it, I guess.
can afford it, yeah. So, but also, let me be clear. Like, this wasn't like a lot of these trips, Milton paid for me because my dad always paid for me to go on some kind of fucking trip when I was younger. And then,
that's nice.
Right. And then, so that was my life. I had no responsibility and no care. Cut to here we are today, right? I have responsibility. I am a mother. I am a wife, right? I'm a therapist, so I do have responsibility to my job, which is another reason why I really don't get away as much as I actually even would like to get away in my mind, because I just can't. But anyway, when I booked this trip, and I'm not going to get completely into it, but I want to share a little bit about what's been going on just with me and just in terms of just this trip and the insight that I've gained and everything going on, because I'm wondering if other people can relate to that as, being in your 40s, having a family, having a career, and just kind of like feeling like you just want a moment. And my thing, though, it wasn't that I wanted a moment even from my kid. It was like I wanted a moment from you. That's really what it was. Like I could not, like when I booked the trip convincing myself and inserting the narrative that, oh, I'll book it and hopefully Joe and, our daughter can make it. And so in my mind, it'll be like, oh, you guys will meet me there and da-da-da and the whole thing. But I low key knew that probably wasn't going to happen, which is then why I ended up contacting my dad as a buffer, because I knew that I was going to be sad regardless being away for so long. So I was like, Dad, want to go to London? Of course he wants to go. So now we're going. But I booked it with 13 days because I wasn't even thinking. It was this impulsive, like just excitement of like getting away and going, across the country. And I haven't been out of the country in so long. And I just want to get away from my husband for just a minute. And I know, it was like insane. I just needed a moment.
Why do you want to get away from me so bad?
Because you're not the easiest person to deal with, and so I did not realize all this though until we had a really good conversation and I was showing you the places where I was going to be staying at, right? And I loved how you came at me, and I really actually am so glad that it went down this way. But we were in our room on the bed. I was like, oh, look where I'm going, blah, 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 blah. And my bubble land of having no and you were like, do you know how much this trip is going to cost you? It's probably going to cost maybe $2,000, $3,000. And I was like, no, it's not. No way. My ticket there was $200 and something. My ticket back was $300 and my numbers were so low, so low. And in my mind, that was really my truth in that moment, So I was
because you bought everything one day you bought one flight.
Yeah.
Like a week later you bought the
Another
other
flight.
And
Yeah,
then
it
you
was like-
you got the Airbnb. And
Yeah.
it was like you didn't do it
Everything
all
at once, right?
Yeah.
So because it was all scattered, I was like, oh my God, I only spent like, I don't know, $800 or like $700
I was
and
like,
everything.
that's impossible.
So then I was like, let me look. And so then I pulled up like all the
started
actual
doing it. We started
confirmations,
doing the
started doing
math.
the numbers. And so I'm going through the numbers, we're calculating all this stuff. And it's like, he's already at like, I don't know, 1,000 something or whatever. And so
Just for the flights.
right. And so he tells
like,
me,
okay, so you're
and
way
I was
off there.
right. He tells me, and I'm like, oh, okay, So I'm still like, oh, I didn't even realize I was spending that much money, but okay. But then where you got me, which I still feel like shit about to this day, but then where you got me was, look, no, because I was like, are you okay that I'm leaving? And you were like, look, I want you to travel. I want you to go wherever you want to go. I want you to travel. I'm excited that you're going. I think it's going to be great for you. But I'm like busting my ass to just like make everything go as is, just for us and our family, financially, everything, and you're spending $2,000 something going on this trip for 13 days.
That was the thing. That was also it too. It was like
That you
really have
didn't
to go
even
that
really,
long?
you didn't even really I didn't really consult you. It wasn't like I was like, babe, I'm buying my ticket today and this is how long I'm going to go for and this is what I'm doing. I just did it.
Yeah, and I didn't really know until you were telling me either, because I assumed that you were going for a week. I still thought you were going for a week up until that point. And then I thought you were going to like split up the week and go half in London and then half and go visit your friend in Paris. And I was like, okay. But then we started talking. You're like 1 week over here and then 1 week over there.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, like I had this like life to just like do whatever. Like I was just like, all right, I'm gonna spend a week in London, then I'm gonna go to France, then
Yeah.
I'm gonna go here.
Meanwhile, me and your mom are over here, like
right.
watching the kid.
Right.
Doing everything else.
So then I felt bad because I was like, it didn't honestly hit me until that moment. And then I think I went deeper with that thought because then in my mind I was like, why would I sit at a computer, impulsively book a trip for 13 days out of the country, not really consult my husband about it and just like go? Like, who does that? Like, why would I do that?
I mean, it wasn't like we did talk about it.
We did
and
talk about
we got
it.
our passports and stuff
Right,
like that.
right,
But I
right,
just
yeah.
wasn't. I mean, I didn't. know
I
when it
didn't
was.
give you the detail. I didn't give
Yeah.
you the details. So then it left me thinking, and I was really like having to process this because that was the bigger question for me was why would I even do that, And I didn't realize all this until after we spoke. And what hit me was you and I. So we always talk about on this podcast how like the only thing we argue about that we have any kind of conflict is when it comes to Soul, our daughter, what she eats, what food goes into her body. It used to be also what food went into my body. And then I was like, enough, because it's my fucking body. So back the fuck up.
I mean, it still is, but I just don't say anything.
And now that I have my own thing going on. I have boot camp I'm going to. I'm doing my thing. I love it. Da da da. I haven't heard you say anything about me or what I'm eating in forever, and I love it. I feel the difference in my life. But Soul has been a big thing, and it's been like building, like each day. And this is gonna sound. You're going to hear me say this example, and it's going to sound to you like I'm over-exaggerating. I firmly believe that I'm not. Okay? So just...
I'll let you know.
Okay. So this is how my life was or has been with you. It's wake up in the morning. Literally from the morning. Wake up in the morning. Oh, okay. Soul comes in. Comes to my side. Mama, can I have a snack? This is the first thing. The first thing in the morning is about food. Okay, so the day starts with food. Okay, can I have a snack? And I'm like, okay, now my mind, right? I'm like, yeah, sure, you can have a snack. Like just hold her off until she has breakfast. There's either a smoothie that we give her, or there's these like little like protein bar things that we give her. Anyway, if I give her the wrong thing that he thinks is wrong for the morning because there's too much sugar or whatever in it, it already sets the tone for the day. So immediately it's you're going to give her that? well, you know, it has like so much sugar and da da da. I mean, of course you're going to give her that. You know, you're not going to think da 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 da. And then it's already now, in my mind, it's already, I'm failing already, and I'm failing at being a mom already, and it's 7:00 in the morning. Literally, that's how it's been. And then it's like, okay, the rest of the day goes on. Thankfully, I'm at work for a huge chunk of the day, but then I get back home and then it's like something else like, oh, what'd she eat today? Because I can't. There's never a time where you're like, where you don't ask me. Like sometimes I'll come home and I'm like, oh God, okay, just please don't ask me like what maybe I gave her, what or just something, anything. And you always ask what the hell she ate. And then I'm like, well, you know, I gave her like, she did have like an applesauce, and then bam.
Well, what this does...
Well, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
And then bam. Oh my God, you go, well, how much sugar's in that? I don't know, like 12 grams of sugar or something. 12 grams of sugar. Oh my God, this is why she does sleep. Blah, 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 da, 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 right? It's like, and then I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, now, in my mind, I'm trying. This is me trying. In my mind...
This is the current situation right now, how you feel? Or this is how you were feeling?
This has been all a build-up, and this is how I've been feeling until now. Now I just feel like I'm just a shitty mom, and I'm trying to just, like, kill my daughter with unhealthy food all the time because you bring it up every fucking second.
All right, you're still there, even though we had, like, several conversations over the past couple of days about what we're going to do and how
so
we're going to go about
tell you...
it.
So let me finish, and I'll tell you more in a minute. So that's basically been my life with you. Whereas everything, I'm constantly nitpicked about or I'm constantly told about what it is that I'm doing that you feel is not the healthiest thing for our kid. Now, I get it. I understand that. I'm not the best when it comes to healthy stuff in terms of like reading every single ingredient and being like, oh, is that canola oil in there? Nope, not buying that. That's not me. I'm getting better with how much sugar and I'm trying to really wrap my head around it. But so anyway, that's been my life. Now, I booked that trip because I wanted to get away from that. Is literally why I booked that trip. I booked the trip for 13 days in Europe.
Well, it doesn't go away,
because I wanted a moment from the nitpicking and feeling like I could do nothing right in Joe's eyes as a mom for my kid.
I hope I get my chance to tell my side of the story.
Hold on.
All right, because it's...
So then after we spoke, and I'm like, okay, we had a good conversation. I understood what you said. You made a great point. You said you had mentioned to me that every time you and I have a conversation about what we want Soul to eat or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, okay, I hear it, right? And then that like next hour or next day, I'm giving her something that you're like, we just talked about this. Yeah. And so what you mentioned to me was that you felt you've been feeling dismissed and ignored, which I thought was actually rather like, I was like, wow, that's actually really like, okay. Like I actually really understand that, by the way. So then I'm like, okay, well, he feels dismissed and ignored because I'm not really doing, I guess, what he would like me to do with her food stuff. I feel like I'm being nitpicked and a shitty mom because I'm constantly being critiqued about what I give her and how I parent her. So here we are. So that's why I booked the trip. I needed to get away. And rather than just be able to just talk to you about it, because in my mind, I'm like, we always talk about this. It's like I can't talk about it anymore. I just needed to go. Now today, after we had that talk, and I did cut my trip short. So now I'm only going for 9 days, which is good. But now today, I think that it's still like so like the other day, I think it was yesterday or something, we woke up in the morning and you were like already like on me about like, I don't know, some shit that I like gave Soul. And so immediately I was like, and then I just kind of like worked myself through it because I was like, all right, like clearly we just talking about it isn't going to be enough. We need like time to like change, and maybe you need someone to really help us like really maneuver around all the, you know, everything that's going on here. Someone objective, because it's like you and I really clash with this particular topic about our daughter. And so I let it go. I was just like, it does not mean that I'm a shitty mom, Aaliyah. It does not mean that I'm a shitty mom. I'm just telling myself that, although that's going through my head. And today at the grocery store, Right. I got those muffins that weren't the best, I guess, idea because they had 12 grams, 17 grams
17
of sugar
grams of sugar each. They were
per
these little
muffin.
stupid muffins.
per muffin each.
And you're like, look, they're gluten-free. I was like...
I was like, they're everything free. They're dairy free. They're soy free. They're canola oil free. They're everything. Yes, they have 17 grams of sugar in one.
That's insane.
In one muffin. And then, of course, I showed it to you to discuss, and which normally I'd be like, no, I'm just going to get it, and I would leave it in the bag. And then I was like, okay, I understand. It's like I get it because 17 grams of sugar sounds crazy, so I understand that. But at the same time, I'm just like, it's like this back and forth. So anyway, I'm trying to work through it. I just think that you are not the easiest person to talk to because talking for you is like, it turns into, now although you don't see it as this, but it turns into this like aggressive, like you're hammering, like da, 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 and it's like the other person's like, oh my God, I'm either gonna fucking flip the fuck out or I'm gonna shut down because I don't know where else to go because it's so intense. Your energy is so intense. And then that's what's been happening, you know? But that's basically where I've been at. And clearly we need to really, you know, continue to do what we're doing and what we plan on doing moving forward to really be able to address this.
So now, if everybody on this podcast only heard that side, and even if I just heard this podcast by myself, I'd be like, Jesus, Joe, well, what's this guy doing? He's up our ass. Why can't the kid have a couple freaking little
because you are up my ass, though.
Okay. Well, let me explain the other side of this, right? So
I'm constantly nipping. So it still doesn't change anything.
We've been going through this literally almost like since after the first like 6 months we were together, probably when it came to like your diet and stuff, right? Mm. And it's always been about your health because you have colitis and
yeah, let me be clear too. It's
stuff.
Always about my health, which yeah, I was talking about this with another friend last night, and she was like, "Wait, but this is only about health. He only right. This is not about weight or like anything like that." So
right, yeah. I mean, weight gain is it just equates to essentially, you know, usually your diet for the most part, unless you got like some sort of kidney things, but 90% of health issues boil down to your diet, what you're eating. But anyways, so it all kind of started with that, and then you, like I said, we had a conversation about this, and like you really started getting on track. You got a nutritionist. You were working out all the time. You did all these things. You got off. I mean, we talked about this before. You got off of all your medications, and you were controlling your colitis just naturally, right? And it was amazing. And you had lost,
best I ever felt my whole life.
Yeah, you lost a bunch of weight. You were in shape, and then that was good. That was like that for like 6 months or so, and then you got pregnant, and then obviously it gets harder and harder to keep up on those things, and then you have the kid, and then you also have postpartum, all this other stuff. So, but you know, like that in my mind, I'm like, okay, like I gave you like space because obviously you have a kid. It's a very traumatic thing to your body, mentally, physically, all this other stuff. So you got to like work your way through it. And every once in a while we'd have little conversations, and I'd be like, hey, like what are you looking to do, like how, you know, but you kind of snap back fairly good physically, I think, right within the first couple of months, right? And then something happened, and I think you started kind of slacking off on some things.
No, we moved here. That's really what it was.
Yeah, I mean, even in Fort Lauderdale too, I think.
No, I was doing well prior to getting here.
Mm. Well, anyways, whatever it is. So what I'm saying is this all stems in, I've been talking about these things and you were aware of them diet-wise and health-wise. And then we get to fast forward, you know, we got a kid that's 2-3 years old. And now it's at that point, you had really gone in the other direction as far as like diet when we moved here and like health and like your sugar intake and all this other stuff. It was just like it was a little bit out of control, and I felt like I had to like say something and say, hey, what's going on here? So I'm sure we had several conversations about that, right? And then, it's like when we had the conversations, I kind of like let it breathe a little bit for a while, for a few weeks or whatever. See if any of that stuff that we talked about sinks in with you. And then if I don't see anything, then I'd like bring it up again,
Right.
So then and what I'm trying to do here is like build the story of the frustration.
No, I know that. And I'm going to give you your time, because then I'm going to jump in to just fill in some other stuff.
So then we got a kid that's starting to eat like all these other foods and stuff like that, right? And then we have a mom who just you're not aware of the proper diet for yourself. Never mind a kid, right? So you're in your mind, I totally get it. You're just like, this kid needs to eat something, right? And this is the list of what I know that I eat that is somewhat healthy or whatever in your mind is whatever. Okay, she can have this, right? So then I start seeing all this, and it's like it seems to be more carbs, carb, sugar, and then we have more and more conversations about this. I say, and then it starts like weekly basis, and then it's like daily of like hey, we just talked about this, like, are you reading the packages? Like, and when it comes to, I was able to like just separate from you, because just before Christmas time or something, it was actually on the podcast where I was just like, all right, I won't say anything until like New Year's. I told you, right?
Yeah.
And that was fine. I can do that. And if you, however you want to do it, I mean, we had enough conversations up to that point that I felt like at that point, like, all right, if you want to go down that rabbit hole of like not eating healthy, I guess it's on you, but that's not like kind of what I was looking for. Like, like a partner that's like wanting to be my equal with like all types of things and do things together and be healthy together and stuff, So, but once again, you're an adult, right? So I was willing to do that. But now when it comes to a kid, I'm like, there is no way, I'm unwilling to allow my kid to just start developing these addictions to sugar and carbs and all these other stuff. Why? It's unnecessary, especially when the knowledge is there and the awareness is there with both parents, right? So I do all my best, but I'm not with her all the time. We're probably, I don't know, maybe about 50-50.
50-50.
I think you hang out with her a little bit more than me sometimes. But anyways, so then it's like, and then it's like every day I'm like, all right, well, I'm like watching what you're feeding. And then she'll wake up, she'll have a smoothie. Like, this was like last week, I think.
No, it was just yesterday.
Where she had, no, it wasn't yesterday, but it was just recently, where woke up in the morning, she had like a smoothie. The smoothie has 10 grams of sugar in it, right? Even though it's like organic and healthy or whatever, it's like fruits and vegetables and stuff, So still 10 grams of sugar. Immediately after that, I think you made pancakes. The pancake syrup has 26 grams of sugar per 2 teaspoons. And I put like 1 teaspoon on each of her pancakes, and I was like, okay. Then I didn't like measure it out, but it was like, it was just a little squirt. And then she was complaining about that, and then you're just like, oh, put some more on there. I'm like, okay. So before 9 o'clock, this kid is already over like freaking 30 grams of sugar. And then I don't know what she ate for lunch that day. Probably something else more carby with more sugars in it, right? And then basically the only way I can even balance anything out is like when I am physically here and I am in physical control of what she is eating that day, and I can make something that doesn't have all the sugar in it. So that is a recent thing that just happened like within the past week, but this has been going on for many months now, and it's extremely frustrating, especially because we've had so many conversations about it. Although I do think like we just had like a date night the other night, which was for the first time in a long time. And the goal was to like talk about, what are the fundamental foundation things we want to inject into our daughter so that it carries on with the rest of her life. And we made a list of different things that, it was only like maybe 5 or 6 different topics. And we agreed that like there's many ways to get there where you can do it your way, I could do it my way. But as long as we're getting the goal, getting to the point, and not skipping things or like, cheating or whatever. So anyways, that's my side of the story where it's like, it's a frustration and we've had so many conversations and I just wish you would start taking the time to understand all these things I'm talking about with the foods and stuff. So that way and I've tried to focus it on our daughter where it's like, it's not about you. I'm not coming at you. You're not a bad mom. You just don't know. I've been doing this for like 20 years.
No, I understand. On the other side though, like, so like throughout all these conversations we've been having, let's say, and all this buildup, you're constantly just like lurking in the freaking like darkness, always watching what I do. Like, honestly, like it was cause sometimes I'll catch you just like watching me and just to see what I'm going to get. Am I going to pick out something or am I going to give in to her and just like give her some, like you're constant. So it's not even just about food. It's also just about parenting in general. Like you're always constantly watching me about something. And so when you're living in your own house and you feel like someone's like, whoa, shit. Sorry, guys.
In the studio now.
And you feel like someone's like here, and they're watching every move you make. It's like suffocating. I'm like, oh my God. Like, so that's also kind of been happening as well. I mean,
I get that. I get that too. And then, we talked about this too the other day where like, I think my life, and we've said this, that everything about my life, everything I do, who I communicate with, my relationships, all that stuff is all trust is like the top priority that I cannot like lower that priority. It's just, it is, right? Mm-hmm. And, I think everybody should be like that. It's like the world revolves around trust.
Yeah, trust is big.
Communicate, like understanding and really believing or not believing or whatever.
So each time we had these conversations
it's
and
just
I was doing something else,
chipped away at that down, trust.
Which again, I get on the...
And I'm not saying that I should be hovering or looking.
No,
That's my thing where I need to like chill out. But we have to have the conversation where, and I think we did the other night, where we're on the same page and you know what to do from here on, and I shouldn't have to hover anymore.
Right. The other piece of that too, though, is that again, like I think the other day too, you were like highlighting something like, I don't know, something that I was doing that probably wasn't like the best for Soul or whatever in your mind. And you were like you had highlighted that. So you highlighted the negative, which you always do. You never highlight the positive with me when it comes to parenting and anything with Soul, just FYI. So you highlight the negative, and then I was like, see, but this is the thing, is that you highlight the negative, but you don't acknowledge the change that I actually like have made, like you didn't acknowledge like, so like there, I can't even tell you how much I do. Like when I go to the grocery store by myself, you probably think I go in there and I'm like, all right, whatever. Like who cares? When I'm in the grocery store, I'm literally like, okay, I gotta breathe this. And I'm like making myself do stuff that I've never done before that I didn't really care to do because I hear you in the back of my head that's like, can't have this or you can't have that or da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. So I have to I have to make sure. And so now the other day I did that because again, for you, this thought comes natural. For me, it doesn't. So there is some restructuring that I really have to do.
Right. That's what I was going to say. So like, is it possible for you to like, when you get that feeling and you're thinking of me and cringing and being like, oh, I shouldn't do this.
Because it's been you though. That's why.
Right,
I mean,
but
Soul doesn't say anything.
But you could redirect that energy and you could just say, I don't know what is right. and it doesn't matter whether Joe's pointing it out. You just don't know, and you're working on that. And it's not for you. It's not about you being a shitty person or whatever. It's about finding the right foods for our kid. Whether you know about the foods or you don't know about the foods, you should want to understand it and learn it for her.
Right.
And it's got nothing to do with you or me.
And I understand that. But Joe, you also, I think there's some pieces of this that I think you also, on a clinical level, psychologically, are hard for you to really understand as well, you know, which a lot of it is just like
the restructuring part?
No, other stuff, which a lot of it is just like my own stuff. But like you also don't understand how things can contribute and can affect someone's psychological state. Like you don't really understand how that works. So like although in your mind you've been trying to help and guide and do all of that, it really has come off as the word I want to use, as just like very critical, and like and the reason why it's come off as critical is because of how constant it is. You know, if it was like once in a, then like it would be like, okay, fine, you know. But because of how intense it is and how constant and consistent and repetitive you say the stuff that you say to me, it comes off as critical. What ended up happening is I've ended up in my mind having this like, this almost like, not like I'm trying to compare it to some like mental health thing. It's not like a PTSD, but it's like almost like a, like at any point that I'm literally doing something that I'm like, okay, it's not that bad, but like I feel myself like instantly I'm like, oh God, like is he gonna, what's he gonna say to me, blah, 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 blah. And I have all this in my head, and then it's like all this like fear and anxiety. This is why I told you the other day that I'm like stressed around you. I'm like constantly, I feel stressed around you. Like that's what starts going on. And I think it's because, now that we're gonna get deep, which sucks because I do have to go make meatloaf, but now that we're gonna get deep, I think what it is, so prior to you, I was single for 5 years, 6 years, yes. But prior to that, I was in a abusive relationship in my 20s. And it was a very verbally, mentally, and emotionally abusive relationship. Although I do not consider you to be abusive at all, or else at this point in my life, I would not be with you. I think the intensity and the repetitiveness and just the constant like on it, like almost triggers me in some way, shape, or form. And then I get all like, which again is my shit. Clearly, I now know that I have to probably really address that as well. But like, I think that's what's happening.
But also you don't understand that I took that approach a long time ago. The approach of having a conversation, not saying anything, going about my life or whatever.
I know.
And multiple times.
No, I know. I'm just
so
telling you what's happening.
I'm like at this point, I'm like,
you don't know what to do, and you don't know how else to. So that's how you're doing it, which I get. You know,
I don't want to do it the way I'm doing.
I'm just telling you that I think that's what's happening. You know, to me, which is why I have these thoughts of like, also like, oh my God, like I'm a shitty parent, and and this and that, and you know, like all these things.
But that gets directed, that energy, it's like I'm doing that to you. I'm making you feel like you're a shitty parent. Right, but it's like,
well, no, right, exactly.
Maybe in a way, I guess I get where you're coming from. Your
behaviors have a contribution. I'm not saying that you're the cause, right? Yeah. And I don't think anyone's really the cause here, as I think that people contribute. And I do think it's important to at least kind of see where we contribute, you know? Just because I contribute to something doesn't mean that, right, like I caused it. I'm not saying that you're causing this thing in me, but you definitely play a part, you know? I
mean, like I think in most relationships, like people don't recognize they see the shit that they're like, they see what's happening right now, this attacking, well, this is how I feel right now, but most people don't go back like we just did right now and show the story on both sides of how it built up on both sides. Do you know what I'm saying? They don't think about even their own actions.
Well, there's always two sides of a story. There's always two sides of a story when there's a
Right.
unit of two people in a relationship, like,
Right.
so
But there's always a buildup, because if you're married or you're in a relationship or whatever, most likely you marry that person because you love them and you like care about them. Initially, at some point down the line, you wouldn't have like come at them the way you're coming at them now. But like, it's like this buildup, and it's this chipping away at like that trust or whatever it is, emotions and stuff like that, that get to the point where it's like, oh, this person's making me feel like that, or blah, blah, blah. But you have to think of the long story on both sides to see how you even got there.
Right.
And then when you talk about the long story on both sides, you can kind of understand each other a little bit more.
Yeah,
and then change things moving forward.
Moving forward, yeah. I mean, I definitely, after the conversation we had, I definitely understand when I shared just what's been going on and my story or my part with like, my dad or whatever, like even like before I even said anything, my dad was like, yeah, okay. So, it's like he gets what I'm saying because he also knows you. And he did agree that you're intense. We all do agree with that. But on the other side, he was like, but right, like I understand, so it's like, I mean, it's one of those things. I think that before I didn't really have, before we got into it or just spoke about it, I didn't have the understanding of maybe how you were feeling on that side, because it wasn't really until just recently that you were like, I feel dismissed and ignored every time that's the language I hear. Like when people speak to me like that, that's what I hear. It sticks, and it's stuck in me ever since then. But you've never been able to communicate it in that way. You communicated it in that way a few days ago, and I was like, okay. That I get. That makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know. I've recognized a few things about myself and about our situation over the past few days, and like I'm the type of person, and this is what's happened also, and we talked about this the other day too when we went out, was that we haven't been doing this date night thing, which we were doing before, and I think that was actually helping mitigate some of this stuff, because it's like reconnecting once a week about whatever's been going on, and we haven't been doing that
at all.
So then it just kind of, we just push things to the side, you push things, and then there's no like we're not on the same page all the time with certain things, and I've
been so irritated with you. I haven't been wanting to hang out. I told you that the other day, like, which it's like, that's actually what we needed most likely, was to actually come together and have these moments where we can like, go through just things, which now that you're saying that, when I think back on it, like, right, like even when mom wasn't here, my mother, we had a babysitter and we had her and she was coming, we went out, so so that's something that we both realized that we have to do.
So we're getting back on that. But I also just realized through this conversation that I think I'm a person that like, my brain is working so fast, and there's so many things going on in my life that it's like, if you're not staying up to speed with what's going on a regular basis with me, I'm off. My brain is like, beyond. I'm thinking about our daughter when she's like 10,
someone
20,
told us
15.
So actually a therapist who picked that up. This is like when we were in Fort Lauderdale, remember? Sherry, she was talking to us and she had actually pinpointed that in you. And she was like, the two of you are interesting because you're both a lot alike, which usually clashes. She's like, but Joe, your brain and the way that it works is like all the way here. And Aaliyah always gets there, but she just takes a longer time to get there.
Yeah. And
so it's almost like, I feel like the frustration that you have up here is the frustration of me not being here.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not getting there.
This is a great point, and
is a great point.
I'm just like recognizing this right now when you said this,
me too.
Right? Because like I'm just like this. I'm great going up, and just like whatever, right?
Constant.
And before, when we had more time, I think before we had our daughter and all this other stuff, we were able to have conversations on a regular basis. So like, you're still going like this zigzag way up or whatever, but I didn't have to, like, I knew that we were on the same page with things. I knew that you'd get there. So I was more patient. Then, for sure. And,
well, we didn't have any other, there were no other things. Like, we talked a lot about stuff, but it wasn't until we got pregnant and had our child that I think more life stuff really came in. And that's when you were seeing more. But I think the things that you were seeing more of are things that realistically, like, if someone hasn't been really implementing certain things, it's going to take them a little bit. And again, you have a hard time with, like, in those moments when you're in it, you have such a hard time realizing that not everybody has the same brain as you. And although logically you know that, emotionally you don't, because when you're in it, you get so frustrated when somebody else can't just, like, do what you're doing, Like, why can't you just do this? Or, like, think like that. And it's like, well, no one, like, you function on a whole different level, like, Yeah. Man, I'm actually glad that we just talked about that piece right there, because that really, I feel like I'm hoping for you, really, you can see that again, because, right, it's not that I don't want to get there. I do want to get there. When I met you, I have all the same goals and things that we talked about are all true. They didn't really, but you go so quick and you're so far ahead that, I mean, it's hard for me to catch up.
And for me, I think the trust part of this is, like, I have to look at it in the big picture, because this is probably, I'd say our daughter is the third time, and I'll explain in a second, that I've gone through this with you. Meaning, first one was when we first got together, we had all kinds of conversations, but it was a little frustrating first, and then I saw you get it together with yourself and your health and your diet, and I saw you achieve something that I knew you could achieve, but I knew that you didn't ever think that you could achieve that, I think.
Yes.
Right? And I watched it, and the process is amazing to me, and I love watching the process, right? So I have to remind myself that I love watching the process, right? So then now it's like we had to go through that again. I see changes within you now, within your health and your diet and what you're doing with yourself, and you're getting excited to, like, go to this boot camp every week and, like, do the cold plunge and all this other stuff. And so, like, I'm kind of starting to sit back and watch that, and I like it. And then now with our daughter and the food and stuff, we did just go grocery shopping this morning. There were moments. There was the little cookie thing, the muffin thing, and normally it would have just gotten thrown in the cart, and I would have looked at it and been like, "What the fuck?" And I just would have had no say in it, because you'd get all, like, irritated, and then I'd just be like, "Okay, well, you're gonna feed my kid some more sugar," So I can start to see it happening, and the more, I will say, the more that you start doing those things, that not only am I also don't want it to be like, I'm telling you to do this. And all these things, I'm pretty sure you realize, maybe it initially seems that way, right? Or whatever.
Well, yeah.
But this is why it's important for us to have conversations, because through conversation, I think you start to realize that it's not something that I want. It's only things that you've told me about yourself that you want to achieve. And I just reiterate those things back to you. Right. So, when you recognize that and you realize, okay, this I have been wanting this. And just because Joe's pushing me and telling me doesn't mean that he came up with the idea, right? Like,
right. Yeah. Really, at the end of the day, and then we do have to wrap up because I have to cook, but at the end of the day, in my life of being in relationships, every time, like, one ends, I always have thought to myself, man, I just, like, in my own head, I've always been like, I need, like, a challenge. I need, like, someone that's going to challenge me, like, and I always knew I needed that, because no one that I was ever with really challenged me. I just literally just, like, stayed the same.
I like that too. I like it too.
And so I always knew that I needed that. And then last night I was talking about this, and I was like, I literally met, like, my match. Like, I met someone that challenges the fuck out of me to a point. So it's like the universe was like, oh, okay. You want to be, You want someone to challenge you, huh? Like, here he is, you know, in the most intense form. And I'm like, wow, this is what, you know? So, I mean, it's all good. It just needs to be the word balanced. I've been throwing out that word a lot lately.
Funny thing is, like, I was looking for the same thing, and you challenged me as well. Like, just by, like...
Oh, yeah.
I guess just by you being who you are and doing the way that you're doing it, it's like, you know, the frustration or whatever is, like, that is challenging to me. And I have to... A lot of that is me being frustrated with the pace, and I need to just... We just have to have like different types. I think the answer really is just more communication, like more often.
Which is wild because understand anyone listening to this right now, we like, I feel like we overly communicate. I mean, like like sometimes the stuff that I tell you, I feel like most couples wouldn't even say, you know, like, and I'm like, I'm very open with him. I tell him about everything, all my thoughts, everything.
I think just with us, it's like, it's just 100% necessary.
It's so much.
But I also understand your side of it too, because you know, you work all day long. You're dealing with a lot of people's like serious things going on.
I mean, that's just my life. Like it's like
but when you come home, like you just want to like chill. I get it, you know. But you know, I think you know, once a week the date night would
we're
really
gonna
help.
Have to get back to that. I really what I hope is that I don't know. This podcast, this episode gets some listens, and I hope that maybe anyone listening to it who's, you know, been in a relationship or is in a relationship and married, has kids, whatever, can be like, oh my God, I completely get that. So far, I feel like I've opened up about my point to some friends, and everyone's like normalized it. Like everyone's been like, oh my God, I totally understand, like who are married and stuff. And so now I don't feel like so shitty, you know, like, but I'm actually kind of realizing as I go through all this stuff, right? You know, I mean, this is my first time being married, first time having a kid. So as I go through all these things, I'm realizing that a lot of this stuff is actually really common in terms of just what we're going through. But it's what seems to be the biggest piece of all of it is constant communication and being able to really give yourselves as a couple that time. Yeah. That's what I'm seeing is like, and I've heard that before, but now that I'm in it, I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me now. I can see now how there's couples that, let's say, struggle to get past this, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's just like divorce, right? And that, you know, so... And now I can see why, let's say, couples probably last 60-something years. It's either they're not talking at all.
Oh, yeah. We talked about this. The husband just shuts up, and then that's how they make it to 60 years.
It's either they're not talking at all, or they're, like, talking all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So, but, all right.
I think, the last thing I was going to say is you're right. And I just want people that are listening to not, you know, this may sound like an extreme thing where
what may sound extreme?
Meaning like the what we're talking about, the topic and like how detailed we talk about all, like
I think
how,
that you're also
I feel.
worried I think that you get worried sometimes about how people are
I really want to like break.
I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't think we have to have a disclaimer.
Well, no. I just want to make sure that like you know, people might be hearing this and maybe they're not like completely relating because we're talking about these details about like diet and our kids and like Crohn's and all this other stuff, but it's all the same at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what your relationship problem is.
The topic
that's
of
just
our,
it can be anything. It can be anything.
It can be really anything.
And you just you have to see it within your relationship of like what the dynamic is, but it's the same shit though. It's the same shit. And then if you are able to communicate and look at the long story of how you got here and the long story of how your partner got here, it's the same thing, whatever the topic is. So that's what I was trying to say.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So thank you for tuning in. If you did, if you haven't tuned in, then check us out and start from the beginning. Start from season 1 because our season 1, I feel like that's like one of my favorite seasons. I freaking love it.
By the way, we like jumped into season 3 without even making any kind of announcement. Like
When was season 3?
it was like 2 episodes ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I switched it up because like we didn't have a podcast for like a couple weeks, like when it was like the holidays, like Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that. And then when we came back, we said it was going to be season 3, but we never like said it. We just went into
season
it.
3.
Yeah, season 3.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So we're season 3 in 3 seasons.
The seasons don't make sense around here. We just do them
We just
like
kind of
whenever.
decide when we're going to be a new season.
Yeah, whenever we do enough, and then we're like, all right, we need a couple weeks off, and then we just come back and we're like, I guess it's a new season. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Bye. See you soon. Love.
See you later. Love you guys.